Hi, got print pizza here. Well, it is a fact that we create God and delusions with our brains. I mean, neurology proves that. We're in the 21st century, not the fourth. And believing in God is a psychosis. It's a delusion. It's an, believing in imaginary friends is like believing in Santa Claus to be real. And this is a form of retardation. And it's extremely dangerous in this 21st century to believe in this nonsense. And here's from the Merck medical dictionary, the definition of what a delusion is.
Religious people that accept imaginary friends as reality are actually suffering from a form of schizophrenia I call christ-psychosis. Now here in this book talking about disorders, we have an interesting one, delusional disorder. Delusional disorder is characterized by non-bizarre delusion, false beliefs that persist for at least 1 month without other symptom of schizophrenia. So these people are actually sick. And this is something that the neurologist should actually, warn the world about these nuts, especially the Christians. They suffer from these disorders and they don't realize it. And this is something they actually should, the symptoms are very clear. If you believe in invisible or imaginary friends to be reality, you're simply deluded, you're sick. And this is something that a lot of people don't realize. And of course, the brain is a tremendously complex, evolved biological computer. That's where the mind comes from. And that's what we created God with.
Believing God is a psychopathy. And in the moment that you're believing in the delusion of God, you can believe in anything. And it can cause tremendous genocide or intolerance in the world. Here is the version of Christianity called Nazism. You know what this is.
Laval worked on some Nostradamus predictions, and what he did in particular was he produced these booklets that looked like they'd been legitimately published within Germany and predicting bad things both for Germany.
Many people devoutly believed in astrology.
And they were all Christians. The moment they are Christian, you're believing all kind of astrology,
Undermining
spiritism.
German morale with phony astrological predictions of defeat may have been an effort worth making.
We are born atheists and then we feed our brain. The brain is everything. And we can create emotions and love, expressing it with music, like I'm doing here, for all my friends here on YouTube.
Well, it is not thanks to the psychosis of believing God that these instruments are created. These are the result of science, collective knowledge. And science can only be developed by the lack of belief in irrational things like God. And lack of belief is atheism. So, there's a composition of mine, I call it Escaldilla Furiosa. I don't know how to read notes. My brain, study it, learn it by myself, and I can play these sounds. Sounds were sacred in ancient times. Here it is. If I was under drugs, I had a problem with my brain, I would not be able to do this because my hands would not obey me.
composition, but it's sounds emanating from my brain. And this happens in anything. If you're a great scientist like Dr. Kaku and a great biologist and all these astronomers and all these people that actually are really good in their field, they cannot be distracted or infected by disease. If they have tuberculosis or they have a problem, they won't be able to think straight. But worst of all, the brain. If they're infected with religious beliefs, which stagnate the intellect, then you don't go anywhere. You're retarded. And so you'll never be able to compose really good music or have, and you know, I know somebody's going to say Bach and all these other people that were inspired by religion. Well, yes, it's inspired, but they stagnated. They kept everything the same. They didn't advance. That's what I'm talking about. And the only way you can advance is by having lack of belief in deluded and retarded ideas of imaginary friends, which is God. It's the only way you can do it. Always must keep in mind that we create the mind and thinking with our brains. Everything else is bullshit. Neurology already proves that. So believing God, which is imaginary friends, is a psychosis. And we must always reject it from our minds and connect the dots and learn as much as we can. Read different books and be skeptical. When you lack a belief in retarded fairy tales of religious beliefs, then you are a happier person. You can tell between fantasy and reality. You can think better because your brain is unencumbered by those retarded thoughts of God and deluded ideas. And then you can be a good scientist, you can be a good accountant, you can be a good philosopher, you can be good. And then you can enjoy life better. You can be a better lover because you cannot have good sex if you are infected with religious psychosis, which you have this little forbidden type of sin idea. And that is a problem. So there's just no way you can have really true happiness unless you are atheist. In other words, lacking belief in imaginary friends or deluded, retarded ideas like those of the religious. So, free yourself from religious psychosis. We're in the 21st century. Enjoy yourself. Pace de oro.